Alright my friends, so now it's clear for us that we have 3 layers and we have to go and build them. So that means our big epic is gonna be after the layers. So here I have added 3 more epics. So we have build bronze layer, build silver layer and gold layer. And after that I went and started defining all the different tasks that we have to follow in the projects. So at the start we will be analyzing, then coding, and after that we're gonna go and do testing. And once everything is ready, we're gonna go and document stuff. And at the end, we have to commit our work in the Git repo. All those epics are following the same pattern in the tasks. So as you can see now, we have a very detailed project structure, and now things are more clear for us how we're gonna build the data warehouse. So with that, we are done from this task. And now the next task, we have to go and define the naming convention of the project. Alright, so now at this phase of the project, we usually define the naming conventions. So what is that? It is a set of rules that you define for naming everything in the project. Whether it is a database, schema, tables, stored procedures, folders, anything. And if you don't do that at the early phase of the project, I promise you chaos can happen. Because what's gonna happen, you will have different developers in your project, and each of those developers have their own style, of course. So one developer might name a table dimension customers, where everything is lowercase and between them underscore, and you have another developer creating another table called dimension products, but using the camel case. So there is no separation between the words, and the first character is capitalized, and maybe another one using some prefixes, like dim underscore categories. So we have here like a shortcut of the dimension. So as you can see, there are different designs and styles. And if you leave the door open, what can happen in the middle of the project, you will notice, okay, everything looks inconsistent, and you can define a big task to go and rename everything following a specific rule. So instead of wasting all this time, at this phase, you go and define the naming conventions. And let's go and do that. So we usually start with a very important decision, and that is which naming convention we're gonna follow in the whole project. So you have different cases like the camel case, the Pascal case, the kebab case, and the snake case. And for this project, we're gonna go with the snake case, where all the letters of a word gonna be lowercase, and the separation between words gonna be an underscore. For example, a table name called customer info. Customer is lowercase, info is as well lowercase, and between them an underscore. So this is always the first thing that you have to decide for your data project. The second thing is to decide the language. So for example, I work in Germany, and there is always like a decision that we have to make whether we use Germany or English. So we have to decide for our project which language we're gonna use. And a very important general rule is that avoid reserved words. So don't use a square reserved word as an object name. Like for example, table. Don't give a table name as a table. So those are the general principles. So those are the general rules that you have to follow in the whole project. This applies for everything, for tables, columns, stored procedures, any names that you are giving in your scripts. Now moving on, we have specifications for the table names. And here we have different set of rules for each layer. So here the rule says source system underscore entity. So we are saying all the tables in the bronze layer should start first with the source system name, like for example CRM or ARB, and after that we have an underscore, and then at the end we have the entity name or the table name. So for example, we have this table name CRM underscore, so that means this table comes from the source system CRM, and then we have the table name, the entity name, customer info. So this is the rule that we're gonna follow in naming all tables in the bronze layer. Then moving on to the silver layer, it is exactly like the bronze, because we are not going to rename anything, we are not going to build any new data model, so the naming gonna be one-to-one like the bronze. So it is exactly the same rules as the bronze, but if we go to the gold, here since we are building a new data model, we have to go and rename things. And since as well we are integrating multiple sources together, we will not be using the source system name in the tables, because inside one table you could have multiple sources. So the rule says all the names must be meaningful, business-aligned names for the tables, starting with the category prefix. So here the rule says it starts with category, then underscore, and then entity. Now what is category? We have in the gold layer different types of tables. So we could build a table called a fact table, another one could be a dimension, a third type could be an aggregation or a report. So we have different types of tables, and we can specify those types as a prefix at the the start. So for example, we are saying here fact underscore sales. So the category is a fact and the table name called sales. And here I just made like a table with different type of patterns. So we could have a dimension. So we say it starts with the DIM underscore, for example, DIM customers or products. And then we have another type called fact table. So it starts with fact underscore, or aggregated table, where we have the first three characters, like aggregating the customers or the sales monthly. So as you can see, as you are creating a naming convention, you have first to make it clear what is the rule, describe each part of the rule, and start giving examples. So with that, we make it clear for the whole team which names they should follow. So we talked here about the table naming convention, then you can as well go and make a naming convention for the columns. Like for example, in the code layer, we're gonna go and have surrogate keys. So we can define it like this. The surrogate key should start with a table name and then underscore a key. Like for example, we can call it customer underscore key. It is a surrogate key in the dimension customers. The same thing for technical columns. As a data engineer, we might add our own columns to the tables that don't come from the source system, and those columns are the technical columns, or sometimes we call them metadata columns. Now in order to separate them from the original columns that comes from the source system, we can have like a prefix for that. Like for example, the rule says if you are building any technical or metadata columns, the column should start with DWH underscore and then the column name. For example, if we want the metadata load date, we can have DWH underscore load date. So with that, if anyone sees that column starts with DWH, we understand this data comes from a data engineer, and we can keep adding rules. Like for example, the storage procedure over here. If we are making an ETL script, then it should start with the prefix load underscore and then the layer. For example, the storage procedure that is responsible for loading the bronze gonna be called load underscore bronze, and for the silver, load underscore silver. So those are currently the rules for the stored procedure. So this is how I do it usually in my projects. Alright my friends, so with that we have a solid naming conventions for our projects. So this is done, and now the next step is that we're gonna go to Git and you will create a brand new repository and we're gonna prepare its structure. So let's go. Alright, so now we come to as well important step in any project, and that's by creating the Git repository. So if you are new to Git, don't worry about it. It is simpler than it sounds. So it's all about to have a safe place where you can put your codes that you are developing, and you will have the possibility to track everything happened to the codes. And as well, you can use it in order to collaborate with your team, and if something goes wrong, you can always roll back. And the best part here, once you are done with the project, you can share your repository as a part of your portfolio. And it is really amazing thing if you are applying for a job by showcasing your skills that you have built a data warehouse by using well-documented Git repository. So now let's go and create the repository of the project. Now we are at the overview of our account. So the first thing that you have to do is to go to the repositories over here, and then we're gonna go to this green button and click on new. The first thing that we have to do is to give the repository name. So let's call it SQL Data Warehouse Project. And then here we can go and give it a description. So for example, I'm saying building a modern data warehouse with SQL Server. Now the next option, whether you want to make it public and private, I'm gonna leave it as a public. And then let's go and add here a README file. And then here about the license, we can go over here and select the MIT. MIT license gives everyone the freedom of using and modifying your code. Okay, so I think I'm happy with the setup. Let's go and create the repository. And with that, we have our brand new repository. Now, the next step that I usually do is to create the structure of the repository. And usually I always follow the same patterns in any project. So here we need few folders in order to put our files, right? So what I usually do, I go over here to add file, create a new file, and I start creating the structure over here. So the first thing is that we need datasets, then slash, and with that, the repository can understand this is a folder, not a file. And then you can go and add anything like here placeholder, just an empty file. This just gonna help me to create the folders. So let's go and commit. So commit the changes. And now if you go back to the main projects, you can see now we have a folder called datasets. So now I'm gonna go and keep creating stuff. So I will go and create the documents, placeholder, commit the changes, and then I'm gonna go and create the scripts, placeholder. And the final one, what I usually add, is the tests. Something like this. So with that, as you can see now, we have the main folders of our repository. Now what I usually do, the next step is that I'm gonna go and edit the main readme. So you can see it over here as well. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go inside the readme, and then we're gonna go to the edit button here, and we're gonna start writing the main information about our project. This is really depend on your style, so you can go and add whatever you want. This is the main page of your repository. And now as you can see, the file name here is .md. It stands for Markdown. It is just an easy and friendly format in order to write a text. So if you have like documentations, you are writing a text, it is a really nice format in order to organize it, structure it, and it is very friendly. So what I'm gonna do at the start, I'm gonna give a few description about the project. So we have the main title, and then we have like a welcome message and what this repository is about. And in the next section, maybe we can start with the project requirements, and then maybe at the end you can say a few words about the licensing and a few words about you. So as you can see, it's like the homepage of the project and the repository. So once you are done, we're gonna go and commit the changes. And now if you go to the main page of the repository, you can see always the folder and files at the start, and then below it, we're gonna see the informations from the readme. So again, here we have the welcome statement, and then the project's requirements, and at the end we have the licensing and about me. So my friends, that's it. We have now a repository, and we have now the main structure of the project. And through the projects, as we are building the data warehouse, we're gonna go and commit all our work in this repository. Nice, right? Alright, so with that we have now your repository ready, and as we go in the projects we will be adding stuff to it. So this step is done, and now the last step, finally we're gonna go to the SQL server and we're gonna write our first script where we're gonna create a database and schemas. Alright, now the first step is we have to go and create a brand new database. So now in order to do that, first we have to switch to the database master. So you can do it like this, use master and semicolon. And if you go and execute it, now we are switched to the master database. It is a system database in SQL Server where you can go and create other databases. And you can see here from the toolbar that we are now logged into the master database. Now the next step, we have to go and create our new database. So we're gonna say create database, and you can call it whatever you want. So I'm gonna go with data warehouse, semicolon. Let's go and execute it. And with that, we have created our database. Let's go and check it from the Object Explorer. Let's go and refresh. And you can see our new data warehouse. This is our new database. Awesome, right? Now to the next step, we're gonna go and switch to the new database. So we're gonna say use data warehouse and semicolon. So let's go and switch to it. And you can see now we are logged into the data warehouse database. And now we can go and start building stuff inside this data warehouse. So now the first step that I usually do is I go and start creating the schemas. So what is a schema? Think about it. It's like a folder or a container that helps you to keep things organized. So now as we decided in the architecture, we have 3 layers, bronze, silver, gold. And now we're gonna go and create for each layer a schema. So let's go and do that. We're gonna start with the first one, create schema, and the first one is bronze. So let's do it like this, and a semicolon. Let's go and create the first schema. Nice. So we have a new schema. Let's go to our database, and then in order to check the schemas, we go to the security and then to the schemas over here. And as you can see, we have the bronze. And if you don't find it, you have to go and refresh the whole schemas, and then you will find the new schema. Great. So now we have the first schema. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go and create the others too. So I'm just gonna go and duplicate it. So the next one gonna be the silver, and the third one gonna be the gold. So let's go and execute those two together. We will get an error, and that's because we are not having the go in between. So after each command, let's have a go. And now if I highlight the silver and gold and then execute, it will be working. The go in SQL, it is like separator. So it tells SQL first execute completely the first command before go to the next one. So it is just separator. Now let's go to our schemas, refresh, and now we can see as well we have the gold and the silver. So with this, we have now a database, we have the 3 layers, and we can start developing each layer individually. Okay, so now let's go and commit our work in the Git. So now since it is a script and code, we're gonna go to the folder scripts over here, and then we're gonna go and add a new file. Let's call it init database.sql, and now we're gonna go and paste our code over here. So now I have done few modifications. Like for example, before we create the database, we have to check whether the database exists. This is an important step if you are recreating the database. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you will get an error where SQL gonna say the database already exists. So first it is checking whether the database exists, then it drops it. I have added few comments, like here we are saying creating the data warehouse, creating the schemas, and now we have a very important step. We have to go and add a header comment at the start of each script. To be honest, after 3 months from now, you will not be remembering all the details of this script, and adding a comment like this, it is like a sticky note for you later once you visit this script again. And it is as well very important for the other developers in the team, because each time you open a script, the first question gonna be, what is the purpose of this script? Because if you or anyone in the team open the file, the first question gonna be, what is the purpose of this script? Why we are doing this stuff? So as you can see here, we have a comment saying, this script creates a new data warehouse after checking if it already exists. If the database exists, it's gonna drop it and recreate it. And additionally, it's gonna go and create 3 schemas, bronze, silver, gold. So with that, it gives clarity what this script is about, and it makes everyone's life easier. Now, the second reason why this is very important to add is that you can add warnings. And especially for this script, it is very important to add these notes, because if you run this script, what's gonna happen, it's gonna go and destroy the whole database. Imagine someone open this script and run it. Imagine an admin open this script and run it in the database. Everything gonna be destroyed and all the data will be lost. And this can be a disaster if you don't have any backup. So with that, we have nice header comment, and we have added few comments in our code, and now we are ready to commit our code. So let's go and commit it. And now we have our script in the Git as well. And of course, if you are doing any modifications, make sure to update the changes in the Git. Okay, my friends, so with that we have an empty database and schemas, and we are done with this task. And as well, we are done with the whole epic. So we have completed the project initialization. And now we're gonna go to the interesting stuff. We will go and build the bronze layer. So now the first task is to analyze the source systems. So let's go.